Welcome everyone. We are especially excited about the next session, which is being hosted by our knowledge partner, the Terwilliger Center for Innovation and Shelter at Habitat for Humanity, shortly called as TCIS. No doubt there can be nobody better to walk us through how 3D printing can be a solution for providing affordable housing to millions of people. I have two wonderful people joining us today, Mr. Aditya Jain, co-founder and CEO at Twasta Manufacturing Solutions, and Ms. Meera Shiva, lead Shelter Tech Accelerator at TCIS. Meera and Aditya, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Paula, for the nice introduction, and good evening, everyone. Happy to be here today and talking about such a very exciting technology, which is 3D printing, which is going to be the way of the future. And we particularly at Habitat for Humanity's Terwilliger Center for Innovation in Shelter, though called TCIS for short, we want to also use the full name, is really excited to be working with innovative solution such as that created by Twasta to promote access to housing for low-income people, which is the mission that Habitat worked towards. Habitat for Humanity is a not-for-profit, and the mission is to provide housing for all, and we work globally in over 70 plus countries for multiple decades. And the Terwilliger Center works at for-profit solution which are market-based with small organizations and large organizations, and usually the bet is on solutions that are innovative, which help reduce the cost of housing, provide more access through finance or better supply chain solutions, so that the people who build their own homes in the rural areas or other low-income segments have a multiple choice of products and get better quality of homes that is at the price tag that is affordable for them. And we also provide finance solutions so that even these solutions, no one, even the very rich people actually buy homes on loans and such. So we also work on the housing finance side. As a part of these solutions, we have been running accelerator programs, working very directly with startups that have very exciting solutions that address the core of these problems. And as a part of the Shelter Tech program in India, we have been working with Twasta, and from day one, we have been very excited about the possibility of 3D printing and how much it can totally revolutionize the whole construction industry, particularly in the affordable housing segment, and take the solution not just for, building a few homes and hundreds of homes, but actually, as the title says, for billions, right? Because the housing problem is large. I let Aditya talk about how he sees the fit and all of that. So I will stop here and introduce Aditya. Aditya is is a graduate from IIT Madras. He's a mechanical engineer and a master's in mechanical engineering. Graduated in 2017, but Twasta was started even before he graduated. It was co-founded by 3 people, all from IIT Madras mechanical engineering department, and they started out doing a 3D printer, and the first use case was 3D printing for manufacturing and healthcare and non-concrete printers, and they found this great problem space which is in the housing industry where construction could use this technology, but no one was actually solving this problem. So they have made great strides from the time they have been part of the program. I will let Aditya explain the company's journey, their product, and their wonderful pilot project, pilot home they have built, and walk you through the potential for this technology and how Twasta sees the market for that. Over to you, Aditya.
Sure. Thanks a lot, ma'am. Thanks a lot for that great introduction. So I'll just speak briefly about Twasta. We started this company about 3.5 years back, as Meera ma'am mentioned, and we have been working in this area of 3D printing for quite a while, but construction 3D printing was a different solution. So let me share my screen and let me take you through our journey and how we have been working in this area. I hope you can see my screen. Yeah, so the area that we have been working on specifically in the area of affordable housing is construction 3D printing. And here it's a multidisciplinary problem that we have to solve. We have to, of course, look at how large structures can be 3D printed, and construction industry is an industry which is notorious for rejecting innovation. So to bring in an automation solution, a digital solution to the construction industry is a real challenge, and this is something that we have been working on for quite some time. The market, of course, is very big, and the problem that we are trying to solve is, of course, a very relevant problem in the world currently, because it's not only people who are homeless who will benefit from this, but also people who demand or who require better quality homes. So that's what we have been working on for quite a while. And specifically, the problem within the construction industry, especially in India and developing countries, is that of lack of a productive solution for delivering the kind of housing that we require. And this is one of these very few problems where there is a lot of demand for better quality housing. There is capital available, there is land available, but there has not been a solution which can really automate and scale up to deliver according to the needs of this industry. So it's really a supply-demand mismatch, and one of the biggest challenges in this industry especially is the lack of productivity within the sector itself. So if you look at, let's say, the manufacturing sector versus the construction sector, I'll come to that. Manufacturing has gone way ahead of the construction sector in terms of what it is capable of delivering, but construction is far away from achieving that. And to specifically talk about India and the problem that we currently face in India, we have a housing shortage of 49 million houses, or 4.9 crores, and it is expected to expand, and I'm talking about the current projections right now. 100 million houses by 2030 is the projected requirement. There is also a case where because of migration, that is, India is undergoing a very fast urbanization process, and because of that, people require a different home, or a home additional to whatever they have. So that demand is also going to hit the Indian housing market quite soon. And if you look at the global requirement, there is a requirement for 1.6 billion better housing for the people across the world. So these are not homeless people essentially, but these are people who require a better shelter than what they currently have. And one of the biggest problems that the current construction industry has is with respect to the reliance on human skill. So we have a huge problem, and we have a very limited populace who have the skill to deliver the solution. And that is a huge problem. And there is massive wastage within the construction industry, and it is one of the biggest contributor to global warming as well. So there is not only a requirement to deliver housing, but there is a requirement to deliver it in a sustainable manner. And the biggest problem why we still have not really resolved this is the lack of productivity, as I mentioned. The manufacturing industry, automotives, aerospace, everything has leaped forward with respect to what they have achieved with automation, whereas the construction industry still lags way behind. So this is the big problem that we are trying to tackle through 3D printing, that is bringing manufacturing style productivity to the construction sector. And it is not just a direct automation problem. Because of the lack of productivity and standardization, it is not even possible to define uniform cost across various markets. So what the contractor quotes at the beginning of the project and what the resulting cost of the project is at the end of the project are vastly different. And hence there is a problem with financing these projects as well. And hence overall project cost becomes much higher than what it should be. So these are the problems that we are trying to resolve, and this is just a chart which is very self-explanatory. Just for United States, the kind of difference that we see between 1960 and now with respect to productivity that has been achieved in manufacturing versus productivity that has been achieved in the construction sector is really massive. And this is what we aim to resolve through bringing digital construction solutions. So I'll just show you a brief video. Most of you will be familiar with the problems that we face in India, but even then I want to show you the real state of housing, even within our urban environments, the way people live and the kind of problems that they face. So this was shot in a slum near Chennai. So these people live in essentially temporary shelters which have been propped up.
Okay. அப்போ எப்படி
இது போல பாய் எல்லாம் போட்டு கொஞ்சம் ரொம்ப கஷ்டமா இருக்கு.
அப்போ இந்த வெள்ளம்லாம் வந்தப்போலாம் பயங்கர
வெள்ளம்லாம் வந்தா எங்கனா ஓட வேண்டியதுதான் மேலண்ட எங்கனா போய் இடம் கொடுத்தாங்கன்னா அங்க போய் பாதுகாப்புக்கு உட்காந்து.
பாத்ரூம் போறது கூட வழி கிடையாது, ஒரு கக்கூஸ் கூட கிடையாது இந்த இடத்துல, எதுவுமே கிடையாது. ரொம்ப கஷ்டமா இருக்கு.
सैलरी एनाल इप्पत्तिक्कु एनाल वीडु वांग मुडियला.
लोन के लिए सोचा, बाकी तो कुछ सोच नहीं पा रहा हूँ, लेकिन लोन भी इतना अमाउंट होता है तो लेना बहुत भारी होगा. सपना है लेकिन सपना पूरा नहीं कर पाता हूँ.
अभी इतना है, अभी हम लोग कितना 100-200 रुपया कमाते हैं घर में, उसमें तो 50 रुपये चाय का पकड़ लो, 100 रुपया खिचड़ी पिचड़ी को सबको पका कर 50 रुपये चाय पचाए सब बच्चे लोग को हो जाता है खर्चा. अभी हम लोग इतना 2-3 लाख रुपया कोई मांगेंगे तो हम लोग कहाँ से ला देंगे, ऐसा है, इसलिए हम लोग इधर रहते हैं.
So this is just a very quick view of the situation here in India, where people, it's not just that people are living in an homeless environment. There are several millions or crores who live in dilapidated houses and who require a better solution. And it's not that financing is not available in these environments. It's reliable housing construction solution is not available, and hence financing becomes even more difficult. So that's the real problem that we want to solve. We want to create a improvement in the life of individuals by providing a dignified shelter, because shelter is where it all starts, and the shelter available to a person defines the kind of education, health situation, hygiene that the person gets over a period of his or her life. So that's what we really want to work towards. And the requirement in India itself is quite massive, 100 million homes by 2030, as I mentioned. So that's why we are bringing this solution. So I want to start with the very basics, 3D printing, what it is, and what is the fundamental principle of this technology. So 3D printing is a technology that has existed since about 1980s onwards. And fundamentally, it is a technology where you deposit a material. It could be any material, polymer, concrete, soil. So the material is deposited layer by layer on top of each other to create any specific shape. So what you see here on the screen is a polymer material being deposited by a small 3D printer to create a basic shape. In formal parlance, that is in the scientific world, 3D printing is called additive manufacturing. And additive manufacturing essentially means add materials rather than subtract materials to create a component. The other aspect of 3D printing is it's a completely digital technology. It's a completely automated technology. So all we have to do is put a digital file into the 3D printer, and the printer can get the output, print the element for it. So I'll start with the basic requirements for enabling 3D printing. First, of course, is the machine, that is the 3D printer itself. So the type of 3D printer that is used really varies. People might be surprised to know that there are 27 to 35 different types of 3D printing technologies in the world. And what is essentially used for construction primarily is what is called extrusion 3D printing. And even within the construction space, there are a lot of variations in the technology that is used. So the machine could be very different depending on what type of 3D printing is actually being carried out. Then you require a customized material. What you saw in the previous slide is a polymer material being 3D printed. Here you have, in the construction industry, you have a variation of concrete or a geopolymer or even soil being used for large scale construction. So you require a compatible material for that particular application. Then you require the software. So 3D printing, as I mentioned, is a completely digital technology, and hence you require a 3D file which has to be uploaded into the 3D printer for the process to take place. So you require a software interface, and the software does a process called slicing, where the 3D file is taken, it is divided into, let's say, thousands of layers, and each layer is printed one by one. So that is why it is called additive manufacturing, because we print each one of the layers one by one. And the last but very important process within which makes this technology possible is the printing strategy. For each and every application, we have to adopt a very different printing strategy. You might want a simple cup 3D printed using a polymer. That requires a very specific printing strategy versus you might require a house 3D printed that requires a completely different approach. So these are the 4 elements that make up this technology matrix, and this is what makes 3D printing possible. So I'll take you through the various processes that are involved in making, let's say, a house using a 3D printer. So first you have to make a 3D model of the house, and there is a specific file format which is compatible for 3D printing. So you have to get the file in that particular file format, and then you have to upload that file into the 3D printer. And then you have to make the concrete material available. So there is a specific type of concrete that we use for 3D printing within our solution. So not all types of concrete can be used. And people are also developing other types of material for 3D printing as well. Soil has been used in various places. There is also another material called geopolymer. So there are other material options, but primarily people use concrete. And then you have the printing process where you 3D print either the elements or you directly 3D print the final structure on the construction site. So based on how that process is carried out, there are 2 different approaches. One is called off-site 3D printing, where you 3D print the elements of the house near a construction site and then transport the elements to the final construction site. And then you have on-site 3D printing, where you directly 3D print the structure on the final construction site. And then you have the final structure, and you might have to undertake some finishing processes to get it into the shape you want. So what we do in this area is we develop the entire solution. We have developed the 3D printer, we have the material, we have the software, and we also have a printing strategy to enable 3D printing. So we develop the entire technology package. We sell 3D printers, and we also enable people to do 3D printing services using our machines. So we have started working in the affordable housing area. There are a few more applications of 3D printing. And the real advantage of 3D printing, especially in the construction industry, is the level of customization that it offers. So every single house, especially in a country like India, is different from each other. It depends on the land plot. It depends on the user's requirement. It depends on the climate of that particular area. So normal construction technologies, or at least the construction technologies that have come up in the past few years, have not been able to customize it according to the user and according to the requirements. But 3D printing, you can do that because all that you have to vary or change is the 3D file, and you can get a different output. And we have also been focusing on sustainability and time and cost. I'll get to that in a minute. But customizability is one of the key aspects of 3D printing. So we call this technology a mass customization enabler. So you had mass production until now after the Industrial Revolution, but with 3D printing, what we are really doing is mass customization. So affordability of the solution is a key problem that we are trying to solve. So we want to reduce costs of construction using 3D printing, and we want to do it not just for massive construction projects, but even when the project size is 1 house or 2 houses or 5 houses, etc. So affordability is a key parameter. And we want to make our solution sustainable as well, because construction contributes to a very large degree towards global warming. And we do this by reducing the amount of material used. So concrete is material that is harmful to the environment. So we try to reduce the amount of concrete being used. And we also try to ensure that the house is designed in such a manner that it consumes much lesser energy than a conventional house over its lifetime. So that is a key aspect that we currently work on. Productivity of laborers who work using our 3D printing technology is a key aspect. We want to ensure that maximum construction happens with minimal involvement of people. So that's one of the key elements. And another key delivery point that we have is to try and provide urban quality construction in rural areas. So if you have traveled across India, you would see that the quality of construction really drops beyond tier 3, tier 4 cities. And this is because one, the contractors in those areas are not trained enough to carry out construction in a particular manner. And also there are constraints with respect to financing. So with our technology, we want to enable it to go into rural areas, deliver construction in areas where even electricity is not available, and do it in a good quality sort of a setting. So that's something that we work on. And the final aspect is speed. So normal construction to, let's say, build a 500 square feet house can take 3 to 4 months or even more. We want to do it in less than a week. So that's a key aspect of our technology. We want to reduce the time required for construction and thereby, of course, reduce the cost of construction as well. So to just show you a few elements of the technology that we have built, this is a 3D printed structure that we have in IIT Madras. So we recently finished, supported by Habitat for Humanity, we recently finished a 3D printed house within IIT Madras. So this is a 460 square feet house. This was done using a technology called offsite 3D printing. This is something where we have a 3D printer hosted near the construction site. We 3D print the elements and then bring the elements to the final construction site separately. And Habitat supported us through financing the project, and also we had support from IIT Madras to execute this. So I'll just show you a brief video of how this process actually happened. So first we start with the material. So we currently batch manufacture the material. We don't produce more than 2 tons in a particular day. So this is a special type of concrete that we have developed. As I said, normal concrete cannot be used for construction 3D printing. So this particular type of concrete has several properties, such as when you see the concrete, you know that it's different from the concrete that you have normally observed. This concrete can retain its shape and without any support. So normal concrete, you might have seen, it flows like a liquid, and usually you require a mold to hold it in place. But this particular type of concrete, once it comes out of the 3D printer, it basically retains the shape in which it is deposited, so we can build on top of it. So this is the 3D printing process. The design for this particular element or structure has already been fed into the 3D printer. So the 3D printer is going around depositing material in the shape that it has been asked to. So this is a very large scale 3D printer. Just to, you'll see an image right after this, just to give you a sense of proportion. So you can see that we do not require 100% solid infill to 3D print a particular structure. We 3D print a wall element or a structure with much lesser material than what would be done for a conventional structure. So we save a lot of material, and also it becomes much easier to integrate plumbing elements and electrical elements, electrical conduits, sewage elements into the structure at a later point in time. So this is the large scale 3D printer, and this is the 3D printing process. You can see how big the 3D printer is in comparison with the people who are standing next to it. You might have seen 3D printers in laboratories or in prototyping shops, etc. Those are very small scale 3D printers. These 3D printers which are used for construction are very large and usually as big as a house or even bigger. And they work in a factory setting. So if you have offsite 3D printing as we have now, here the 3D printer is hosted within a factory, and then you 3D print these elements, and then these elements are moved into the construction site. So the 3D printer here is a gantry type 3D printer, and hence it's bigger than the elements which are being built. You can also see that each of the elements that are being built are different in shape and size. So this, as I mentioned, is one of the key advantages of the 3D printing process. We can customize the shape of the structure as and when necessary. So if we want to build a very unique structure, and most of the structures are unique in their own ways, it is very easy to do it using this process. So as I mentioned, we run it like a production shop. So the printing never stops, ideally. We run 2 shifts at this point of time, but we are planning to run 3 moving forward. So basically when one element is being printed, you have something else happening on the other element, and then you keep shuttling between these. So once all the elements have been printed, they are brought to the construction site. And for this particular project, we did not 3D print the foundation, but moving forward, that is something that is possible. The foundation, of course, depends on the type of soil and the construction site that you have, also on the structure that you want to build. Once the elements are printed, it takes very limited period of time to actually get it assembled. So it takes, let's say, at this point of time, us 2 to 3 days to assemble the structure once everything has been printed. And for this particular project, we took a little longer because we did it in the middle of COVID. So we had to sort of stop the process, and then we had restrictions to get into the place. So lockdown also happened. So we took a little bit of time, but moving forward, currently we are capable of printing a structure like this within 5 days and assembling it within another 2 to 3 days. But moving forward, we want to print this entire structure within 3 days and then finish it within a week. So that's the target that we have set for ourselves. So that's the finished house. So one of the key advantages of this is that the house which is printed does not feel or look different from a conventional house at all. It can look exactly like a conventionally 3D printed structure. So this is the final 3D printed house. And one of the disadvantages of other construction technologies has been that the houses look and feel different from conventional so-called Pakka structures, because sometimes the materials used are such that the houses feel hollow. Sometimes when gypsum or other materials are used, the look and feel of the structure, especially in terms of the structural strength, feels different, although the quality might not be lower. So consumer acceptance of a new construction technology is a very critical thing, and that's something that we have worked on. And it is critical because for most of the consumers, a house is the single largest asset that they will own in their lifetimes. And hence they want it to be strong, they want it to be, perfect to the extent possible. And hence they are very touchy about it. And hence we have tried to put a lot of effort to ensure that a 3D printed house looks exactly like a conventionally built house. Since we use concrete, since we use this particular type of process, it looks and feels exactly like a conventional structure. So it's a good thing in a way. But of course, we can explore various types of designs for a 3D printed house. So all types of curved structures or unique architectural shapes are possible. So that's something that we have been doing. So as you can see, this is the 3D printed house, and these are the interiors, the top left and the bottom right images. These look exactly like a normal house. So these are few images during the construction process. We integrate reinforcements into the 3D printed house. So that's also possible. We can do it either before the 3D printing process begins or after the 3D printing process ends. As you can see, there are spaces available within the 3D printed structure to sort of insert reinforcements. And the shapes of the various structures can be different, as I mentioned. So these are images of the 3D printer which we use. So I just wanted to give you also a sneak peek into the software that we use for 3D printing. So this is a software that we have developed ourselves. So I'll just quickly run you through it. So essentially, this software can accept what are called STL files. So these are standard files within the design space. And once these files are loaded, they can be manipulated within the software itself. The fundamental aspect of this software manipulation to enable 3D printing is a process called slicing. So we'll do that after we set some process parameters for the printing process. So as you can see, everything is digitized. We can scale the 3D model very quickly, move it and arrange the orientation of the printing process. So that's why we call it a completely digital process. And then we have the slicing process which is being done. So slicing essentially is just taking the 3D model, converting it to whatever 150 layers or something of that sort. Then we get an exact estimate of how many kilograms of concrete will be used for the process, because it's completely controlled by the software. So just to give you a sneak peek here, we know that this element, because of the layer height that we have set and because of the orientation, size, etc., we have 68 layers which are going to be printed. We know that the amount of concrete required is 608 kilograms. So we need to only pump in the exact amount. So we know that. And the time required is mentioned, but I think here the scale mentioned might be slightly different. It will take much more time to print it. Okay, sorry. Yeah. So I think there was time required for one layer. So the time required is also mentioned here. But I think, yeah, the printing speed might have been slightly different. So that might not have been completely accurate. But basically you can understand that you get all the parameters required for the operation here. And essentially the software manages the entire printing process. You require just one person to run the software and one person to handle the material. So that's all that is required to run the entire printing process. So this entire team has, we currently have about 17 people and it's a very young team. So we have developed this entire technology here in India. So the printers are manufactured in Bangalore. We currently do the printing operations out of Chennai. And the material also has been developed in collaboration with IIT Madras and a couple of other research partners. So what we are working towards in the future is a few things that will enable us to target multiple markets, both in the urban and rural spaces. One key element, of course, is printing multi-story structures. We are currently working on a project which is G+1, and
Aditya, looks like your screen is frozen. We are not able to hear you.
I think Meera, his computer is switched off, it looks like. I think he's joining back. Hi Aditya, you're back.
Sorry, just a moment. Hope you can see my screen. Yeah.
Yes,
sorry,
we
Meera,
can. Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah. So the other key aspect that we are working on is integrating finishing processes into the construction 3D printing aspect. That is processes such as plastering, integrating electrical conduits, plumbing elements, sewage into the finishing process, so that when the 3D printer moves out of the construction site or when the element moves out of our 3D printing factory, most of these aspects are already integrated into the printed element. So that's something that we are currently working on. And you might have seen that the 3D printed elements have a striated finish. For some architectural applications, that finish is okay, but we are currently working on an automated solution to ensure that that finish is achieved when the element moves out of the 3D printer. So yeah, just to give you a few facts and figures, for the current 3D printed house, we took a little while longer because it was done during COVID, and also we have made some strides in innovation after we finished that. But currently we can 3D print that 500 square feet in about 5 days. So with 2 shifts running, we are working hard to ensure that we can run 3 shifts of 8 hours each, but currently we are not able to do that. But yeah, as I mentioned, this house took us about 21 days to print. And we are currently targeting a costing of 1,500 rupees per square feet in a uniform manner across various types of housing. So it is very difficult to give a standard price for constructing a particular house. It depends on whether it's a multi-story structure, whether the roof and the foundation elements are shared between various units, whether it's a single independent house or whether it's a, so there are multiple elements to it. So we are targeting taking a average house, we are targeting a cost of 1,500 rupees per square feet. And we are working on integrating reinforcements during the printing process itself. And one of the key other aspects that we have been already able to achieve, but we want to push further is our materials. So we have been trying to make the materials itself very affordable for the Indian market and try to reduce the amount of material used within the structure as well, so that costs are minimized. So the fundamental advantages of the 3D printing process compared to conventional construction, one is the faster construction process, of course. Second is the reduction of waste. And faster construction can also reduce the amount of man hours that are spent on building a structure, bringing down the cost. The capability to customize, as I mentioned, is a very key advantage, because especially in a land, in a country like India where land is scarcely available, we require customization even for very small projects. So a few other aspects that we are working on, especially for the rural markets, is off-the-grid 3D printing. So we have made the 3D printer completely independent of the electricity grid by enabling it to run on other power sources. Currently it's a diesel generator. We are trying to see if other power sources work. So this will enable us to go into rural areas where power might be intermittently available or difficult to sort of arrange at a particular site, and then enable 3D printing. And we want to provide urban quality construction by standardizing the process to a very large degree. As I mentioned, once we make 3D printing a standardized process, cost transparency can be achieved because we do the construction over a very short period of time. Cost overruns are minimized. And also, once the process is automated to a very large degree, we know exactly how to estimate for a particular project. So that's also something that can enable cheaper financing of a project. Yeah, so we're also working on building an ecosystem of partners who can enable us to scale. So that's something that we currently have at this point of time. So I'll be happy to take any questions. And Meera ma'am, if you want to add anything.
No, that was wonderful. I think, that laid out a lot of detail on the process, starting from the first principles of what is 3D printing. So thank you so much, Aditya, for the detailed technical explanation, which was quite palatable for everyone. I certainly learned a lot more things today. There are lots of questions, so I will jump right in.
Sure.
So some question, some of the answers you had covered because they came in a little early. One was, can you build a multi-story home, particularly, the context is cities like Mumbai, where there is a lot more congestion and you need a more vertical solution?
Right. Yes. So multi-story structures are certainly possible. It's a matter of execution at this point of time. So as I mentioned, there are different types of 3D printing technologies. So with off-site 3D printing, multi-story constructions are directly possible at this point in time. And we are currently doing a project which is multi-story in that sense. But with on-site 3D printing, we currently have a limitation because the 3D printer is physically on-site. And hence, if we are using a gantry type 3D printer, which is the type of 3D printer that people might have seen in the presentation, then the 3D printer limits the size of the structure that can be built. So we are only planning to go up to G+3 using a gantry type 3D printer. Beyond that, on-site 3D printing can deliver multi-story construction, but the 3D printer will have to take the form of, let's say, a construction crane type of a principle, or a robotic arm sort of a 3D printer will have to be put into place. So using both off-site 3D printing and on-site 3D printing, multi-story is possible. It's a matter of execution and also some technology development.
Okay, so I'll give the easy questions first. This one was easy. The next one is also easy, and save the tough ones for later because they are a bit philosophical. The two others are, what are the certifications you need for the 3D printed home, and what are you working on in that regard?
Right. So Currently, we try to ensure that we are following all the National Building Code regulations so that we can 3D print the structure with the approval from an accredited structural engineer. So that's the process that we are currently following. And in that sense, we follow all the regulations. We follow the exact same processes that I've mentioned in our building codes. And our structures are structurally sound in the sense we achieve far more than what is necessary in terms of the compressive strength and tensile strength for a G structure, G+1, G+2. These are well within our ambit. Moving forward to really enable the optimizations that are possible using 3D printing, we want to have codes that are specifically designed for this process. So the first step towards that is the Ministry of Housing and Urban Affairs has a specific regulatory body called the Building Materials Technology Promotion Council, which provides accelerated technology approvals for new technologies such as precast, GFRG, these kind of technologies. They have certified 27 technologies so far. We are also in the process of working with them to get that thing done. And it is a company specific, technology specific, 1-year renewable license using which we can build. But in the long term, let's say in the 5 to 7 year horizon, we are working towards getting our technology included within the BIS and that is Bureau of Indian Standards and the National Building Code framework, after which we can, I mean, it's an open field for everyone to use the same regulatory, pathways to build 3D printed structures. Yeah.
Okay, you kind of covered this, but this question asks about are there other materials also possible, like beyond the cement, like lime mortar and others for the raw material?
Yeah. So there are other materials possible, and just to give you 3 to 4 examples, one material that people have used is a geopolymer-based solution. So there, geopolymer, as you know, is a different type of material compared to concrete itself. So it is reacted in a different manner. You have an accelerant which is added to a different base to quickly harden the material. So geopolymers are also based on industrial waste, and hence it's a very sustainable solution. So that's something that we are working on. Geopolymer based materials have been used for 3D printing. But we did not take...
Say that the poll also asked how knowledgeable are people in the 3D construction area, whether they know of this technology in the past or this is the first time they are hearing. Many, over around 2/3 know of this, right? So, people know it and they think it's going to happen in the near future, right? Both good stuff. So this question is on, how does this compare or contrast with modular construction technology, right? Where most of the parts are pre-made in the factory and then set up on site. This is not with respect to the longevity and quality or other aspects. This was more with respect to the interior and the MEP, right? So how do you see this and the modular sort of coexisting or having a contrast?
Right. So first, I'll just comment from the production side. So precast as a technology has existed in India for a very long period of time. And people might be surprised to know that it was actually introduced in India by Jawaharlal Nehru in 1947 or 8, right after partition happened, to accommodate refugees who came from West Pakistan in Delhi. So there is a company called Hindustan Prefab Private Limited, which got shut, I think, 2 years back, which used to do prefabricated structures. So precast has existed for a very long period of time. But the disadvantage of that technology has been that it requires a particular scale for it to really make sense. And the structures made are extremely standardized. So smaller construction projects are very difficult to manage, and it's a highly, tightly regulated sort of a production process to enable precast construction. So that has been a major disadvantage, and indigenous technology development in that area did not happen, and hence I think that handholding was never there, and that technology did not penetrate beyond the, I would say, top 5, top 10 construction players for a very long period of time. Maybe now it's being adopted far more, but even now that indigenous technology gap is felt. So that is one. With respect to the difference in the interiors, so MEP is a major problem within the precast space, because for certain structures, MEP is done either outside, or it has to be very well planned, integrated into the BIM process, and even planned at the mold manufacturing stage. So that becomes very difficult. And once the concrete is poured, of course, then it becomes difficult to sort of integrate anything, because what you get out of a precast mold is basically a single unit, and once you start drilling into it, etc., especially for a technology like MyOne, the structural stability is compromised very quickly. So MEP integration has been a problem that precast has been grappling with for a while. But the advantage that precast has is they get a very tightly regulated finish, and hence plastering requirements are very minimal. So we are that is a problem for 3D printing, in the sense we get a striated finish. So plastering has to be done, but we are trying to avoid that by integrating a finishing process at the printing stage. So when the print has just come out, the concrete is still moldable in a way, that is, it can be sort of removed or added upon very quickly when it's still wet and not dry. So at that stage, we are trying to introduce a process where we can get the same finish that precast currently offers through a subtractive process. So that's something that we're looking at. Now, of course, the MEP can be integrated into the structure itself much easier compared to precast.
Okay, so this is another relatively easy one on, a test results for water seepage and ingress and structural strength durability, right? In extreme conditions, right? Do we have any data, or where are things with that?
Yeah. So with respect to durability, we are conducting some accelerated durability tests. So these are standard tests that are done within the construction space, and results so far have been positive, but we are coming up with a detailed data set quite soon. We are doing that with IIT Madras, and also there is a CSIR institution known as Structural Engineering Research Center. So we are doing that with them. So that'll be out soon, and so far the results have been positive. Water seepage, we have been testing on the structure that we have built. We also had a structure that we have built a little earlier, and we have conducted some water penetrability tests, and so far the results have been positive. We only have to ensure that, we built slightly hollow structures, so those sealing elements have to be done quite carefully, but that's a solution that we have easily managed at this point of time, so that's not a problem. And also with respect to testing for extreme conditions, there is actually one test that we are actually carrying out for a project where we are running it at extremely low temperatures and then rapidly increasing it to high temperatures. So these are of course done in controlled regulatory environments. That is, these are small elements which are tested in ovens and deep freezers. So because there is a project possibility that we currently have for building certain structures in Ladakh. So far the test results have been positive, but in certain high altitude and deep freeze regions, some variations have to be done on the material to ensure that cracks don't develop beyond, let's say, 10 to 15 years. So some material alterations have to be made where there is very rapid change in temperatures. But these are, this is a concrete problem. This is not a 3D printing problem essentially, and this has been solved in the concrete research area. So the same has to be adopted to 3D printing. So that's currently being done. Yeah.
Okay, so those were on the technology side, which are somewhat of the easy part, right? I mean, it is not, but you make it look easy here. So the other sets of questions are more on the social angle and the society impact of technologies like this, which is in the area of automation and what it does to the labor and job losses, right? So, construction, as you know, is a sector that employs a lot of people, and then this kind of automation, if it means job loss for laborers, leads to other societal problems, right? So what is your view or your thoughts on how this, is still a better solution for the housing problem net, right? I mean, there are, on one hand, people getting homes, which is more affordable. It gets built faster. The quality is better. There are lots of pros on one side with automation and 3D printing, but then there are also the flip sides, right? Just your thoughts on how Twasta has thought through these things. Yeah.
So I see 3D printing to be in the, especially manufacturing and construction space, what computer was to a lot of industries at that point in time. So there were fears of job losses, etc., even when computer was brought in. But it changed the productivity dynamic of individuals, and it opened other avenues for people to work in. So I see that same metric happening here. Currently, a lot of houses are not being built because technologies are not productive enough. A lot of infrastructure is maintained as it is, and people use it beyond its life cycle because it cannot be replaced fast enough. We hear about construction collapses in Mumbai, old buildings, Delhi, etc. I mean, old buildings collapsing. These buildings cannot be replaced fast enough and easy enough at this point of time because there are no technologies to do that. So 3D printing will certainly enable that. When productivity gains of that degree happen, of course, there will be issues with respect to how we manage that transition process. But I think that cannot slow down the innovation within the construction sector. If not this technology, maybe the process will get delayed by 10 years, but other technologies such as precast, etc., might fill in that void, maybe not as effectively, but the trend is towards a productivity increase, and that has to happen in one way or the other.
Right. Okay. So allied to that is while labor is probably an expensive element in many markets where automation makes a lot more logical sense, right? It could actually be a no-brainer. But the situation in India, vis-a-vis many other developed countries is very different, right? So with cheaper labor available and with this fear of automation displacing labor, how do you see the cost economics? And, let's leave the even ethical aspects a little aside and say, how does the cost economics you think plays out in a country like India for 3D printing?
Right. So that is certainly a very valid argument. In markets such as Middle East, Australia, etc., the construction costs are so high that they are, very keenly looking towards technologies such as 3D printing. In a market such as India, the labor costs are low, and hence there will be probably a little bit more lag in the adaptability, or the costs have to be optimized from that extent. That is, the cost savings might be a little lower than what it would be in the other markets. But even with that metric taken into consideration, what we are actually talking about is, let's say, 5 to 10 laborers working over a 4 to 5 month period versus 3 to 4 people working over 3 days to accomplish the same degree of work. So when that is compared, I think we are currently testing it on the ground, but 3D printing still is cheaper in that sense, and it can deliver that cost saving to the final consumer, even with that taken into consideration. Moving forward, while talking to builders, they do not feel this labor surplus availability in the market. They always complain about skilled labor not being available, and when people are trained to some degree, they leave for work somewhere else, or labor being very cyclical in a country like India, where people go back to their rural regions during a particular period, and hence projects getting delayed. These are problems that we hear from almost every builder we interact with, and India, even if it is a labor surplus market, it seems like it does not behave like a labor surplus market, at least towards some of these sectors. So there are deep labor issues even with all these things considered in a country like India.
Right. Yeah, I just want to add to that construction work is not something people aspire to do, right? I mean, it's not a career people take up. It's just work that they do. And I think solutions like this will enable more skilling in that sector, and then, right, improve the quality of the homes, and right, which would lead to better construction workers, right, quality of life even for them, right? Their earnings would be higher, and people will want to go and do it because this is something that is more aspirational. So I think while there is labor, there is also if anyone can come and do it at a cheaper price, if we say that's cheaper, then what's the quality we may be getting, right? So there is always a balance between the larger good and the value to the household, which is something that is, there may not be one answer in all cases, but that's something that we should also weigh on the other side when we look at loss of jobs. So one probably last question, I think we are running out of time. If you can give a brief answer, which is 2 minutes as per the MC. If any views on how the 3D printing solution could offer a better solution from the carbon emission and climate change point of view for the construction industry?
Right. So there are a few aspects. One is, of course, the reduction in material that is used for construction. Second is the possibility of having structures which are customized for certain climates. Apart from that, even having hollow structures with an insulation layer in between so that we don't use as much cooling and heating as we regularly do. Heating and cooling are the single largest energy consuming processes within any large building or even a house. So avoiding energy usage to a large degree will help. The third thing is ensuring that we use much more recycled material within the 3D printed material itself. We currently use about 16 to 70% fly ash. That's already 16 to 70% recycled material. We are trying to push that much higher. So these are a few elements that can help reduce the carbon emissions. There are a few more aspects that we are working on as well.
Okay. Thank you so much, Aditya. Back to you, Bala.
Thank you so much, Meera and Aditya, for this fascinating conversation that we have had today. I'm sure it's also been inspirational for many budding entrepreneurs who are passionate about providing safe and affordable housing to a large number of underserved families in India. For those of you who want to continue this conversation and meet representatives from Habitat for Humanity, you're in luck. You can meet Lizanne Custer, who is an Associate Director of Entrepreneurship and Innovation at Habitat for Humanity, in the networking launch that starts right now. So also coming up next is an especially exciting segment for us at Will Grow. We'll be launching Vitals, a technology platform that has been designed to increase the efficiency levels of incubators. There's also something in store for the healthcare startups who can meet our friends at GE Healthcare in the networking launch. See you very soon. Thank you.
Sure. Thanks a lot. Thank you.